Okay, so let's work on solving simple equations. All right. First of all, what is an equation? An equation is a mathematical expression stating that two things are equal. Okay. So and many times in mathematics they will ask you to solve an equation. You'll be asked to solve an equation. There are different forms of equation in mathematics. So when they ask you to solve an equation, the thing is, how do you go about solving the equation? Hmm? Okay, so that's what, and what does it mean to solve an equation? An equation always contains what we call the unknown. Okay, it always contains what is called the unknown. That when you are required to look for the value of the unknown, you are actually solving, actually required to solve the equation. Okay, fine, let's leave too much talk and come to the board. So here we have um y plus 2 equals 5. Okay, y plus 2 equals 5. This is an equation. This equation is stating that this expression is saying that y plus 2 is equal to 5. Remember we said an equation states that two things are equal. Okay, so y plus 2 is the same thing as 5. So they say we should, if you are asked to solve this equation, you are actually being required to find the value of y. Y here is standing as an unknown. It's actually representing a number that we don't know what number it is. Yeah, so how do we now go about solving this simple equations? Now many times you just solve the equations by your logic. Okay, and that will be good, but when equations become advanced, it's you often have to use a method that has already been generated. Okay, let me show you how this works. Now imagine you have y plus 2 equals 5. So they are telling us that if you add y to 2 you get 5. So what do you think y would represent here? Of course, what number do you think will be when added to 2 will give us 5? The simple answer is 3. So if we add 3 plus 2, it will give us 5. There is no other number that we can add to 2 that will give us 5 apart from 3. So if that is the case, then it means that y is 3. The value of y is what? 3. You get that, right? So there is also a very better method of doing this. So let's say I have y plus 2 and it equals 5. Okay, so what do I simply do? I move the plus 2 across. Okay, there is a rule in solving equation, and that rule is that whatever you do to the left hand side of an equation, you must do it to the right hand side of an equation. Okay, now, so following that rule, let's say I have y plus 2. Okay, it's already written. I have y plus 2 and I'm looking for y. What that means is that I have to remove this 2 to know what y is. If y stands alone, I'll be able to know what it is, right? So I'll now have y equals to, since I'll now have y plus 2. I want y to stand alone, so I'll remove the 2 standing with it. Okay, and since I am removing the 2 standing with this, I am also going to remove the 2 from this other side of the equation. I just stated a rule that says whatever you do to the left hand side, also do it to the right hand side. Okay, 2 minus 2, of course, is going to be what? 0, right? It's going to be 0. So I'm going to have y standing alone. 5 minus 2 is going to be what? 3. So you see that that's a direct way of getting what the value of y would be. Let's also take another example. Let's say you have let's say I have w plus 15 equals 45. W plus 15 equals 45, and I am looking for the value of w here. I'm asked to solve this equation. Man, what do I do? This is quite simple. All I just need to do is follow the rule and left and right balance rule. It's called a balance rule. So this is going to be w plus 15 minus 15 equals 45 minus 15. The reason why I had to remove 15 from here, subtracting, is because I want W to stand alone. So this W is going to 15 minus 15 is 0. So I have actually achieved my aim of trying to make W to stand alone. So 45 minus 15 here is going to become what? 30. So that means that W has been 30 all this time. So that when I add it to 15, I get 45. That's the simple logic about simple equations. Using algebra. Involving algebra. Okay, now having said that, let's also look at another form of an equation. Let's say we have okay, I want to avoid using just one form of letter every time. Okay, let's say we have p minus 4 equals 16. P minus 4 equals 16. Okay, so the question is now, how do we get P to stand alone? Okay, on the norm, if we remember what we have been doing, we add to, like as it is now, since we want P to stand alone, we could have possibly say, let's subtract 4 from both sides. But if we do that, it's not going to work. Look at it. Let's say P minus 4 equals 16 minus 4. If we are subtracting from both sides, right? This will now be minus 4 and minus 4 is actually, I know we've not gotten to this level, but minus 4 actually gives us P minus 8. This will be P minus 8 equals to 12. This will not help us solve the problem, because as it stands, P is not standing alone. So since P is not standing alone, we cannot get the value of P. Alright, so what do we do instead of the subtraction? We add. Okay, in this case, we are going to add 4 to both sides. We'll add 4 to both sides. You see that? So this is going to be P minus 4. P minus 4 plus 4 equals 16 minus 4. Okay, sorry, plus 4. Plus 4. Okay, so now minus 4 plus 4. Minus 4 plus 4. Okay, just like the 4 you had and the 4 you don't have. Okay, so if you are to balance it, you'll be left with nothing. Let's say I own 4 cars, all right, and I am owing my friend 4 cars. Okay, 4 cars as well. So I now gave out the 4 cars I have to my friend. Okay, because I am owing him. What would I have left? Nothing, right? So that's what is playing here. Whenever you see a negative and a positive sign, always try to use this rule to balance it. The rule of ownership and debt. Okay, so this is going to be minus 4 plus 4, which is 0. So we have P equals to 16 plus 4, which is what? 20. So what this is telling us is that if P is 20 here and we remove 4 from it, 20 minus 4 is going to give us 16. You get that, right? So that's how this works. Yeah, that is how this one works. Okay, now we are going to look at a little more, should I say, complex equations. Yeah. Let's say you have this kind of equation. Let's say 2 times y equals 8. 2y equals 8. How do you find the value of y? Okay. Now, what this expression here is actually saying is that what number can be multiplied with 2 to give you 8? And of course, that's a very simple thing. We all know that 2 times 4 will give us 8, right? That's what it is about, simply. 2 times 4, so that means that y is 4. Okay, in other ways, we can decide to do this. Since we have 2y equals 8, alright, this is a case of multiplication where we have 2 times y. Okay, this is like saying 2 times of y equals what? 8. So if we want to make y to stand alone, okay, if we want to make y to stand alone, what we do is we divide here by 2. And whenever we divide the left hand side of an equation, whatever we do to the left hand side of an equation, we must also do that to the right hand side. So we also divide here by 2. So 2 cancels 2. Okay, if the division is done, 2 divided by 2 will be 1. Okay, 1 times y will be y. So that will mean that we'll be left with y equals to 8 divided by 2, which is what? 4. So you see that it's interesting. It's interesting to know that we can do this to get the answer, instead of like what we did here was more like a guesswork. Okay, because if the number is large, you will need to really understand what you're doing. Okay, so let's also look at let's say we have 3z equals to 21. 3 of z equals to 21. So how do we get z now? Remember that this is multiplication, right? This is like saying 3 times z equals 21. So what do we do now? We divide both sides by 3. We divide both sides by 3. So when we divide, 3 divided by 3 is 1. 1 times z is equals 21 divided by 3 is what? 7. Okay, so that's how this works. Okay, that's how it actually works. Now what about if we have we say x over 4 equals to 2. You see, we have x over 4 equals 2. So the question is, what is the value of x? What this is simply saying is that what number is it that when we divide it by 4, we will get 2, right? So it's a simple thing, don't you think? So of course it's staring me in the eye that 8 divided by 4 will give me 2. Okay, but how do we get that now without having to, guess or something? So what we just do is since this is division, we do multiplication in the opposite. Okay, so we are going to have 4 times x over 4. We multiply. Are you seeing this? Okay, here when it was multiplication, we divided. Here, since it is division, we are going to multiply. Okay, equals 2. Now this will now be 4 times 2, because whatever we do to the left hand side, we must do to the right hand side. So this will cancel this. Alright, and we are going to be left with x equals 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 2 is 8, and that's done. Okay, so it's as simple as that. Now whatever number it is that would have been here, let's say we had x over 4 equals 3. Okay, let me use something else. X over 3 equals 3. What we just need to do is multiply by 3, multiply here by 3 as well. This 3 divided by 3 is 1. 1 times x gives you x. Okay, 3 times 3 here is what? 9. So that's how we actually basically do solve problems on simple equations. We'll look at more of it though. Yeah.